85. As you can see, I'm going just below 80, which I shouldn't be doing either. But I don't know if I can zoom in or not. Right there is the county sheriff doing 85. So if he can break the law, I can break the law. I mean, simple as that, right? Safety features. Are they worth the hype? I don't think so. I apologize ahead of time for the wind before I go out there because it's kind of windy and I don't know if it's going to show up on the mic. But here we go. I'm in your classic cutaway or incomplete chassis, they call them. Back a truck without the box. That thing just yells at you all day long and micromanages it, or feels like it's micromanaging you. Like if you get out of the lane, you know, it says they're distracted, or if you get too close, like this right here. If I was driving on the interstate, which obviously that is too close, but I'm just saying it would say stuff like too close. Very irritating, this vehicle. But anyway, we'll go with the wind. Apologize for the wind ahead of time. I was going to do the video earlier, but I have to fit it in the schedule when I can do it. So, this time, I don't know if this company specifically requests extra zip ties or what, but I went and packed a bunch of straps with me all the way down to Texas, just because I knew I was going to take one of these cutaways back. And this time they have actually 12 zip ties on the board. You would think I'd be good to go, but nope. I hit something or else too many bumps and everything off the thing, I don't know. I'll give up on the mud flaps. Anyway, here's what this video is about. I honestly, if I started with this company after getting my CDL and all that, I would quit on day one. Just way too irritating, that camera. And the fact that they have it set as a governing speed at 63 miles an hour, which sounds like it'd be safer than your normal 65, but you get on down the road and that's not the case. My regular stuff up there, my plate's up there. As you can see, their plate is on board right there, which is fine as long as I tape it off and make it inconsistent. There is a easy pass reader, which is kind of neat, I think. That's nice of the company to put on there. Right out front, and then the company, of course, pays for that. Their DOT number and all that. Technically, I could run on GB Hunt's DOT stuff if I really wanted to, but they might be like MDU. When I brought that MDU truck up to North Dakota, MDU is apparently flagged, at least, I forget what state that was, but MDU had me come in on here, I think it was South Dakota even, flagged me for inspection because they thought it was a regular MDU truck, and their points, their FMCA points, I think, or FSMA, I can't remember what the initials for that is. Motor Vehicle Carrier thingy, FMC, or FMSCA, I think. Numbers, I should know by now, but anyway, what I was getting to, 63 mile an hour govern. Sounds like it would be safer than everything else, but a lot of these, especially the owner operators that are fully loaded semis, they do this 55 mile an hour uphill and 70 mile an hour downhill to slingshot to use their momentum to go back uphill. That's the general idea. Well, here I am coming along doing the 63 continuous, and I'm right in the road all the time. And my only option, because it's governed down to 63, is to back off to like 55 mile an hour in normal human nature. You know, this thing, 63 mile an hour is slow enough, let alone 55. So a lot of times I had to take a break. Like I stopped today at Denny's to eat, even though I didn't have to, just because Denny's came by right when that kind of thing was going on. You know, if you're going to govern a truck, I say have the speedometer not activate above 65. You know, so you have to set the cruise at 65, so like a governed 65, and then have it govern out at 70. You know, and then these governed trucks would work fine with fully loaded semis, because you could have enough foot feed to go up a couple miles ahead of the semi, then drop your foot back off with your cruise already set on 65, and continue going on 65 and not intercept or interrupt their slingshotting because of their 55 up and 70 down, 55 up. Slowly that averages together, I forget, like 60, 67 or 64 mile an hour, I forget. But basically, if they gave us that and did 65 cruise, 70 foot feed, you could just lay on the fuel, on the gas, for a good 2 or 3 miles, get ahead of that guy that's slingshotting, and then coast back to, or not coast back, but let off your foot feed back to 65 on cruise, and then you wouldn't interrupt his slingshotting, and everybody would be happy, everybody would be safer altogether. This reminds me of that same thing where I was driving an RV, and every time you hit the signal button, your music level completely dies during the beep, 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 beep. That would be perfect at 45 mile an hour or under when you're in town speeds, because when you're in town and fully loaded traffic on every intersection corner and stuff like that, it's helpful to turn the music off automatically for you. And I found that as a nice safety feature. But when you get on the road, wide open road, and you're just trying to pass a semi or an RV or whatever ahead of you, and then the blinker goes off, that turns everybody's normal human nature is just going to start being an a-hole kind of deal, where you're just going to slide all over to the passing lane and go without signal so your music doesn't turn down. It's a selfish move, but a majority of people are going to do that, and that is unsafe as hell. You're literally making the open road unsafe when you have this stupid signal and the music goes down thing. Because, I mean, it's just human nature. Selfish human nature, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. But we go back to the governing and the 63 mile an hour thing. I mean, yeah, if they're going to use this rig as just a local town truck, I don't know exactly what JB Hunt's going to use this cutaway for, or if they're going to put a utility bed or box, or what they're going to do on the back of it. But if it's just like a small regional town-to-town type of truck, doesn't get on the interstate much, okay, so then 63 mile an hour I can maybe see once it gets there. It's like one of those UPS vans where they're not made to go across country, they're just made to shoot around in town. Now, if that's the case for this truck, then I can see the whole point for having a 63 govern. Because there's no point in having, you know, especially if you're fully loaded, if they're going to use it as a box truck and they plan on it being fully loaded a lot with like heavy stuff like furniture or something, then I could see it. You know, sort of 6 pallets of groceries or whatever JB Hunt runs. But whether JB Hunt would run a full, I would get up my CDL and run a semi for him or run a box truck for him or whatever, I know for a fact I'd quit on day one. Between the camera and that govern, it just turns this into, literally that governing the speed limit turns it into work. Because like I say, as you're driving along with the other trucks, you get in a group of trucks that are more than like 3 trucks worth, and they're all doing their slingshotting, and you're trying to stay the hell out of their slingshots. You're literally just competing with them, because here you can do the continuous 63 mile an hour, up, down, up, down, up, down, which makes you faster and slower, because you're continuously going the same speed, and they're going like this, fast and slow, you know, and it literally makes it so that they have to go around you, you have to go around them, they have to go around you. It's the stupidest thing. And my only other option, because of being governed, is they have to drop down to 55 or 50 mile an hour for a while and let whatever semi get far enough ahead of me. So basically I must just take a break at that point. It's the stupidest thing, because that is my only other option. I can't get ahead of them. But like I say, if they would have the 63 mile an hour cruise limitation and then 70 mile an hour on the foot feed, you wouldn't have that problem. You'd have just enough power and go-go juice, so to speak, to get up over the hill a couple miles ahead of them before you can go back to 65 on the cruise, and you're happy, and they are happy that you're out of their slingshot. But nowadays, other companies, at least for company drivers, are going to this other automated system where the semi stays another semi-length ahead of the next following semi to make it safer, and in the long run, that probably is safer for the semis. However, it's screwing up their own slingshot. I followed a truck today that, at first, I'm like, he was braking going downhill 3 or 4 times. I'm like, what the hell? Because he naturally, empty or full, they want to slingshot it to use their momentum to go back up the other hill. Well, it was an automatic truck that most likely a company driver was driving, because the owner-operator wouldn't be doing that. It's bad on fuel mileage. You lose your momentum. Ain't worth it. But when I drove up against the truck, I forget what one it was, Snyder or something, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that, and then when I noticed, when I got about this far away to their front, you know, to where I could see what was in front of them, sure enough, there were a semi-length between another truck. And when it's only 2 or 3 trucks, that's no big deal. But when you have 10 trucks in a row doing semi-length by semi-length, you're forcing all the cars into one lane on a divided 2-lane road, and the trucks on the other lane, because cars don't even have enough time or effort to get over and get back. And after they do that a couple times, then they just hold their position. And you see it a lot on these long stretches of interstate where the cars are just back-to-back lined up because the semis are semi-space, semi-space, semi-space. I don't know. You know, it makes me wonder what people are thinking when they draw this up on paper. It must look safe on paper. And then when they go to do it, in real life isn't nothing like the paper. I may have to move now because I see an open spot over there. I'm staying at Sleep Inn and Suites. It's the older property because the owner bought a newer Quality Inn that's down that way behind that hotel. And this is the one they started with. And because it's basically the last hotel in this hotel group going all the way down, it doesn't get much in the way of business. Tonight, though, it looks like it's about half full. But I might park over there so I'm a little bit closer to my hotel and less in courtyards. That's my Marriott courtyard parking. Technically, this is all 3 hotels in one small parking group, but I was trying to avoid being in a crowded parking lot. But I'd be a little closer to my hotel if I backed in there. I don't know. Anyway, I'm using points up from when I stayed because that's the other thing. I went down to Texas with that RV and I mistakenly screwed up and mistook Georgetown, which is a suburb of Austin, which would have been really easy to go from Austin to Laredo. I mistook that for Alvarado, which is actually a suburb of Dallas and Fort Worth, and that shouldn't be an issue by itself, but I ended up spending a day on the Amtrak going from Claiborne, which is another suburb of Dallas-Fort Worth, right next to Alvarado, where I dropped the RV off. Took a lift to Claiborne, got on the Amtrak, and had to take a day there because of the Amtrak schedule was like 3 to 11 o'clock in the afternoon, or at night, you know, it took all the evening. And then the bus going from San Antonio, where Amtrak dropped me off at, didn't go until the next 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I ended up spending 2 days in Texas to get to Laredo to pick this up. And now I'm going to make a mental note of that so I don't take anything to Alvarado anymore unless I immediately plan on just going to Dallas and flying back out, because it would have been cheaper and easier to take a lift to the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth airport, and fly back than it would have been, because I spent a couple $100, probably about $250 or $300 when you figure in the hotel I had to stay at overnight between the two in San Antonio, because San Antonio's hotels are kind of expensive. But I had to stay there. Well, didn't have to stay there, but I didn't want to stay at the bus thing all night. So it was a deal where I was kind of forced to take it because that's the way I had set stuff up. Both of these runs were for Quality, so I took a Quality RV down to Texas and a Quality for truck movers chassis. I'm going back up to Janesville, Wisconsin, and I'm hoping that by the time I get to Janesville on Monday, since nothing's posted right now, they took the last 2 runs at Janesville. I'm hoping by the time I get there on Monday morning, I'll be able to call in and get something off the app out of Janesville going east, either to Indianapolis or Michigan like those last 2 runs were. But I didn't sign up for them yet because I didn't know how long this was going to take me, because I classically take longer than it should. Each trip down there and back was about 1,300 miles, but each trip took me about 4 days, and then plus the 2 days worth in Texas getting between these 2 rigs. I have the sleeping bag, and if the temperature's nice enough, I usually stay in the rig, but being that I have a free one, I'm just going to go stay in a free one tonight. But I thought I would talk about the safety features. And yeah, you can see how I have it taped up. I don't like the idea of somebody remotely being able to see you. And yeah, I'm not driving for their company, so they shouldn't be directly hooked up to it yet. But the thing talks to you, and it just feels like you're being micromanaged. And that just bugs the hell out of me. I love the idea of a traffic camera in terms of, you know, obviously if ever an accident happened, it'd be great to get it on video, because then you know exactly what happened, because the camera tells the truth over anybody else that's seen it. Eyewitnesses can lie, blah, 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 but that camera won't. So that's the one good thing about having a dash cam in terms of that, but I don't like having a dash cam that I don't control. Don't like it at all. So, and it makes me feel like I have to watch my P's and Q's, so to speak, the entire time I'm driving. And I'm sorry, but I'm an independent contractor for a reason. I'm self-employed for a reason. So I don't have to deal with that specifically, and I'm not going to. And they can either take me off the list in terms of taking these units from JB Hunt, if JB Hunt don't like me having the camera taped up, or they can deal with it, you know, and as far as I care. But I don't mind at all not taking another unit that has a camera if they put me on like the banned list for JB Hunt because they don't want me to run without the